Hey folks, this is Daryl.
And Taylor.
And today's show, we are going to be giving you our hopes and dreams for 2018. It is a very optimistic show.
Indeed, but first we wanted to let you know that today's show is brought to you by Health IQ, an insurance company that helps health-conscious people like runners, cyclists, weightlifters, and vegetarians get lower rates on their life insurance. To see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/TSS or mention the promo code TSS when you talk to a Health IQ agent. With all that said, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove. Joining me is a man who I wish a very happy new year. To whom I wish a very happy new year, and grammatically correct, new year. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello and happy new year.
Hello and happy new year to you and listeners out there. Daryl started this first show of 2018 with jazz hands.
Yeah, diagonal jazz hands. Just start with some enthusiasm.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I want to make a good, positive start to the new year.
And you have.
And I did. We both did, right? January 1st, early-ish morning, we played in the John Tolbert Happy Birthday game, which is his birthday's New Year's Day. Happy birthday, John, if you're listening. John. And he, every New Year's Day, has a game of soccer on a beautiful field.
He does, with what, I guess his team is sponsored by Hardywood, so we got to play in the green Hardywood jerseys with the condensation on them. It's a nice touch. It's well done. It's well done.
But it was a good way to start the new year with a quick game of soccer. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Did you score that day?
I did.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Oh, I got an assist to you.
There you go.
What a great way to start the year.
Hooray, friendship.
So, obviously, we're feeling very positive. We would like to start 2018, first show of 2018, with our hopes and dreams for the coming year. So this show is essentially realistic things we would like to see happen in the coming calendar year. Mm-hmm. How about that?
Alrighty. I like that. And with that, do you want me to start us off?
Yeah, please do.
All right. I'm going to say I want... One of my hopes, which I think is realistic, is for there to be a dark horse that goes far at the World Cup. And I know we tend to shy...
far.
There we go. Well, first of all, I'll say I know we tend to shy away from terminology like dark horse and underdog and whatever.
Group of death,
group of death. But in this case, I want to say a team that maybe makes it to like the quarterfinals at least, which I would say is a big deal for the teams that I've looked at, which would be like maybe Egypt, Denmark, Senegal, one of those. And I think it's because with the United States out, with so many major powers not involved in this tournament, I think there's probably going to be some cynicism and some snark going into this tournament as like, is it going to be that good? Is it going to be like the worst World Cup ever because we don't have all these huge teams? And I'm sure there will be an article about, statistically speaking, like you don't have these teams, it means... And I just think that's like the worst way to look at a World Cup. And I really hope there are teams in there that people, say you're a U.S. fan with no real rooting interest in it, if you have this team like Senegal comes out and blows somebody away 4-0 and you're like, Sadio Mane, that's really exciting. Oh, this guy, I want to watch them more. I just want there to be teams that people can get excited by rather than feel like, like I feel weird rooting for Brazil.
So you want a fairy tale team. A
little bit.
Right? I feel like if you're a Liverpool fan, which I know you're not, but if you're a Liverpool fan, then you've got Mane and Salah. You can kind of support Senegal and Egypt and see how far they go.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
What about this? One of the things lower down my list, I've got like my 5 big things that... I've got 5 because I want this to be at least 10 things we want for 2018.
That makes sense.
So that we can title it.
I'm going to go ahead and write that down since I'm doing the show notes for today. Secretly
on my page, I've got more. One of them is that I hope Mexico goes deep at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Right? I would like to see them go beyond the round of 16 and sort of, have those genuinely exciting players like Tecatito really do something on the world stage. Especially because there's no US, like they've already beaten us in terms of, they've gone further at the World Cup. I told you grammatically correct 2018 than the US has. They've already won. Yeah. So they may as well go deep and win far.
Yeah. I mean, and I think like rising tide and whatnot, I think that probably looks better for CONCACAF. It's the same reason why I hope Panama is able to do something because at least then it's not just tiny nation who got there and got destroyed.
I disagree on Panama because they're in England's group.
I know you do, buddy. I know you do. But I want to add, going back to Mexico for a second, because I think they're also capable of it. I don't want it to be no disrespect to our Northern Ireland listeners out there, but like Northern Ireland at the Euros where they almost made it through or did make it through to the knockout round, but it was by being very dour, very defensive, sitting back, playing for 0-0, playing for that 1-0.
Yeah.
I want there to be some teams...
A fairy tale with a brave hero.
Yes, exactly. And I would say even like looking at Costa Rica in 2014, that's a good example in my mind because they did have those exciting moments. You can still be defensive, but still be fun to watch and exciting on the break. And so I think Mexico could do that. Egypt, Denmark, Senegal, those are the ones I've just highlighted. But I think there are lots of other teams who could play fun, exciting soccer, score some goals, bring some new players into like the global consciousness. And I think that would be very good for this World Cup.
All right. Okay. So my first one is I said I hope that Mexico go deep 2018 World Cup. I hope they do so without Jonathan Gonzalez.
I was about to make a joke about that, and it felt too soon.
My number one, the first thing that came into my head as I wrote this list down is my hope for 2018 is Jonathan Gonzalez gets a US men's national team call-up and plays and debuts.
I'm sorry, I stole it from you. I was trying to see if we could say it in the same time. It didn't quite sync up because I ruined it.
Well, I wanted to get a call-up, or at the very least, a phone call.
Yeah. Yes.
So a lot of people have tweeted this at us. There was an ESPN FC story which links back to a Soccer America article from the end of 2017 in which, and I wrote this down, Jonathan Gonzalez says, I wasn't called in November, this is for the US-Portugal game. Personally, nobody came and talked to me and let me know about the friendly. I just wasn't called in.
Yeah. Not great.
It had me chewing my knuckles.
And I think you've come up with, 3 possible explanations for this?
Well, so we do know that Monterrey, his team, had a game that was rescheduled, right?
Yep.
And then a Copa MX game, and both of those games were quite tightly scheduled around that FIFA date, right? So that made it difficult for Gonzalez to leave and play for the US and be able to play in both those games. And the story we heard, I can't remember the source, but the story we heard at the time was that Monterrey said, hey, do us a favour, don't call him up. We're going to need him for these 2 games. If he goes to Europe and then comes back, he's going to be missing. We're in trouble. We're chasing the title, all that sort of stuff. But you and I assumed that part of that is that US Soccer were like, okay, but then there was a separate call to Gonzalez saying, hey, we were going to call you up, but Monterrey said no, but just so you know, you're in our plans.
Yep.
According to this quote, that didn't happen.
And I think that is the most likely scenario, however far-fetched it might seem, specifically because he says, you have the quote, I don't. But it says, they didn't contact me personally, which I think does point to they contacted Monterrey.
Yeah.
But nobody called me, and that was one of my biggest fears about not having an interim manager, having Dave Sargent there. I feel like nobody knew they were supposed to call him.
We have a Walking Dead president, right? What do they call it? Lame duck president.
Yep. That's probably the better way.
Yeah. And we don't have a proper permanent national team men's coach. So yeah, I think there's a kind of a power vacuum and kind of a leadership vacuum. And it seems to me that part of that is that the process of keeping in touch with players has not happened correctly. I'll say this, obviously Bruce Arena was correctly let go. But Bruce Arena, I know, called Jonathan Gonzalez in August, right? That was reported. I think if Arena had still been in charge in November, for all his faults, which are at this point many, including not getting us to the World Cup, there would have been a call to Gonzalez, be like, hey, just so you know, you're in my plans, even though we can't call you up this time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so lack of leadership causes long-term problems. I'm trying to be optimistic here. The good version is that, so he can't be called up in January, right? Because Liga MX teams are in pre-season. Right. He can't be called up for the January camp. The best possible scenario is that the March friendlies, at this point we don't know who the US is playing, but there are FIFA dates in March, so they'll definitely be playing. He's called up and plays in those games.
Yep.
Fair?
Yeah. I mean, and I think part of the reason why I had that is because, yes, I want him capped, or to get his cap, he won't be cap tied, but I want him definitely strongly linked with the United States, or in a situation where it would require a lot of work for him not to play for the U.S. national team. But the other element to this, maybe this is optimistic thinking, is it reminds me of when Daryl, you're a Wolverhampton fan. If there's a player who starts being linked with...
More on that later.
Yeah, true. If there's a player linked with you guys in September, that it's he's already signed a contract, the transfer fee's in place, January 1st, he'll be a Wolves player. But as time goes on, that's not a very good story. And so it becomes... or generally, this is Man United, Real Madrid, whomever. Then there's well, actually, this team could come in and hijack that bid. Oh, that team is actually really interested. Oh, he actually wants to play for them. Because people got to sell papers, and it's not a good story of... Yep, he's still going there.
Yeah.
And it feels a little bit like that with some of these Jonathan Gonzalez stories, that everything we've heard so far from him has been, I want to play for the U.S. He's played for the U.S. at youth level. He said the most rewarding time in his career has been playing with U.S. youth national teams.
Yep.
He's not really given any indication that he wants to play for Mexico, but I think people are aware that's going to get clicks. Those stories are going to get headlines.
Yeah.
So I do think there's
it's
a little
playing
element,
on our fears a
little bit,
right?
yeah. And so there's part of the reason why I want that cap to happen is so we can kind of be all right, done. He's not cap-tied.
Cap-tied doesn't matter, but just seeing him in a US senior jersey just puts it in everyone's head that he is a US player.
Yes,
all right, so that's one of my hopes for 2018 is we see Gonzalez called up and plays for the US men's national team in March.
All right.
What you got, Taylor?
I'm going to say I am looking forward to Jurgen Klinsmann's next coaching gig. I thought about this.
What are you hoping for then?
I don't really care, but I want it to be somewhere where I can watch him without any emotion. Like, I don't want it to be DC United or the U.S. national team or a club that Galatasaray, that was linked for a while. Like, I want it to be a situation where I can kind of watch it from afar and not be emotionally invested to see if my feelings about Jurgen Klinsmann are valid or not, and to see what he can do with another club opportunity.
All right, so who's the ideal team for you in that sense? Think of a team that you sort of have no emotional connection to, but you quite happily watch and see what happens.
The Galaxy. I mean, that's one.
Galaxy?
That's not going to happen. I mean, I would say...
We'd have Klinsmann versus Bradley in Los Angeles.
Oh boy.
It'd be great for that reason.
That'd be good. Yeah, but Galaxy fans are not pleased with that. Like, the other ones that maybe are far less likely, but like, say the Newcastle takeover doesn't happen, Rafa Benitez walks. I could see Mike Ashley be like, all right, Jurgen Klinsmann, he'll sell some tickets. He did some stuff in England. Was that with Newcastle? Is what Mike Ashley will say. I know it wasn't, but he might think that. And so I just feel like that's, but it's one of those sort of positions where it tends to be, sure, why not? Like Swansea. I could see Swansea have a go if Mark Hughes goes. Maybe Stoke think, hey, he managed USA and Germany and Bayern Munich. Why not? Let's not look at his competitive record, but why not?
Stoke's a good shout, actually.
Yeah, and so and I'm not even saying this because I think he'll fail. It's just, I feel like we, especially with what happened with the recent unpleasantness in Bruce Arena, as you mentioned already, it does make me look back and think, I know I do not wish that he had stuck around as U.S. coach, but it is like grass is always greener sort of situation, and I would be curious to see what he does with another opportunity if and when he takes that opportunity.
Okay, all right. So one of your hopes for 2018 is Klinsmann back in employment in a place where you can sort of judge him from afar without your heart being sort of...
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. I do not want him as the next manager of Manchester United. I hope that is clear.
I'm hoping to see at least 5 MLS starts each for Andrew Carleton at Atlanta United, Chris Durkin at DC United, and Paxton Pomykal at FC Dallas.
I'm just going to piggyback real quick to say one of mine is Andrew Carleton's first professional goal is the thing that I'm looking forward to.
Right.
But now, with that
Even
said,
better.
Let's get back to yours.
Even better. So all these guys, right, Carlton's played 4 minutes for Atlanta. We're pretty sure he'll go sort of on loan to their USL affiliate in, I think it's going to be in Gwinnett, which I can't remember if it's a county or a city, but it's going to be sort of their nearby Georgia-based affiliate, which means he can move back and forth, right? Chris Durkin was on loan at the Kickers last year. I think he'll be with DC United this year. I think it's reasonable to expect him to get 5 starts. Given what we've seen of him, he can handle grown-up professional soccer easily. He should be playing for DC. Paxton Pomykal has long ago made his debut for FC Dallas. He's 18 years old. If FC Dallas, I feel like I'm repeating myself, if FC Dallas are really committed to this homegrown player stuff, Pomykal will get at least 5 starts in 2018. Yeah. So this would be the harbinger of the teenage revolution in Major League Soccer that I want to see these 3 talented players getting starts.
All right, I'm down for that.
Okay.
It occurs to me Andrew Carleton may have scored when he was playing with Charleston. I don't think he did. I think he got some assists in there. But
are you saying you want him to score in MLS or in USL?
I'm saying in MLS, but I think maybe I'll take him scoring a bunch of goals in USL and looking really, really dangerous and deadly. Chris Durkin, though, I would much rather see playing for DC United.
Yeah, I think he's kind of proved that he can hang at the Kickers, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
He's been the best player on the field in USL at times.
I mean, he was the best player on the field when the Kickers played Swansea, which is Swansea in preseason. But he really was. I mean, he was the one who kind of controlled the pace, and I think Swansea had some difficulty dealing with him, which is saying something.
And of course, that Swansea team went on to do great things.
Obviously. I don't need your negativity, Daryl.
I've got a sort of sub-header from that. I want to see Josh Sargent light up the U19 Bundesliga.
Why you got to steal my list, man?
I'm sorry. Steal my list? I'll hand it over to you.
Well, actually, you said U19 Bundesliga.
So I read that at Werder Bremen, the plan was, right, I think he turns 18 in February or March, I can't remember which one, which means he can sign a contract. Yeah. Then he can play for the Bremen U19s. And what I read was that the plan was, rest of the season he can see it out in the U19s, get acclimated to Germany, learn some German, all that sort of stuff, feel at home at Werder Bremen, and then we'll look at him as a possible first-team player in sort of, August 2018 when we get through to next season. But the big stepping stone to that is he needs to perform at the U19 level so that they're like, yeah, you're ready for the next thing.
Gotcha.
Could be he plays like 12 U19 games and they're like, oh, you're no better than the other U19s. You need another year here, right? So basically I want to see him light it up at the U19s so that he's ready for the next step.
That works for me. Yeah. I had Josh Sargent's debut. That's a thing that I'm excited for in 2018. But
I guess that would have been a better way of me saying that.
Well, not really, because mine is like like skipping all the hard work, because to your point, it's like maybe next season, if he does well in preseason, if Werder Bremen are continuing to struggle, then maybe he'll get some looks and some minutes. But that comes about from him performing well and showing that he's capable of doing that at U19 level. So I think you can pair those together, and it makes a lot of sense. And that is something I'm very excited for.
So quick one I want to add to here, just while we're talking about Americans in Germany. I'd like to have an injury-free 2018 for John Anthony Brooks.
I would be okay with that. Yeah.
I think that's worth, because it does seem like his career has been a little bit like, oh, he looks great. Oh, he's injured. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, he's coming back from injury. Oh, he looks great. Oh, he's injured. It's been like this weird roller coaster.
Yeah, let's not have that anymore.
Let's not have that anymore. Okay. What else you got?
Well, you mentioned not Josh Sargent. You mentioned Chris Durkin a little while ago. I'm going to say I'm looking forward to hopefully, possibly, what I would like to see happen is DC United be exciting, because we've seen them be up and down.
Sorry, Taylor. We said realistic expectations for 2018.
Well, okay. First of all, point taken. But when and it's not to say that DC United are always bad. Like, they have their ups and downs where they make the playoffs and they're red hot at times, and then there's times when they have the worst record in the league several times over. But I think the reason for optimism, if you're a DC fan, is because there's the new stadium coming. Now, it's not going to be open in the beginning of the season. We're not sure when it will be open officially, but with that comes, you've got to spend a little bit more on marketing. You've got to try to get people there, because suddenly you don't have it's RFK, it's kind of falling apart. People don't want to go to games there. You've got this new stadium. You've really got to fill it. You've got to make it exciting for people to go there. So you've got to kind of build that team. Doesn't even necessarily have to be like marquee names. It's got to be a team that can compete and play exciting soccer that isn't 4-4-2, kick it long, play defensive, which we've seen at times.
Or 4-5-1, kick it long, play defensive.
Or 4-6-0 and kick it long to nobody. Sure. And so I think this year, if you're a DC fan, there's more reason to believe that is a possibility than I think there has been in many years past.
If not now, then when? If not new stadium year, then when?
And I'm not saying that this is a threat at all, because I don't think DC United would move, but I think, as we see with Columbus, there's the threat of, like, if you're one of the original teams, you can get
it's easily... no guarantee that you're sort of stapled to the floor.
And there's also, like, there's no guarantee that is enough to guarantee your continued relevance. Like, you've got new franchises coming online who are going to be competitive from the start, as Atlanta has shown. I think LAFC will be something similar to that. Then you've got newer teams, Seattle, Portland, who have kind of jumped ahead, and now you're not that team that is a marquee name, even though you've won 5 MLS Cups.
Does it? I don't want to turn this into a referendum on DC, but do you feel like they've waited too long?
Yes.
I feel like each year we've been, they're just treading water. They've been treading water for a long time now. I feel like in real life a shark would have eaten them before the boat got there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why Ben Olsen is still there. That it's nice to see a club legend coaching and getting that sort of patience. But, I mean, he has been there for, I think, 2 of the worst seasons in Major League Soccer history. It
has a very placeholder feel to it.
It does, and it feels like he's not really going to rock the boat and demand a bunch of money. He knows what we're about. He's played for DC, where he probably had to do some PR stuff he didn't want to do, but we needed him to because we needed that money. So he's probably then is like, well, I'm not going to go out and ask for... It's like he is Billy Beane, basically. Like, he knows what they're about. He's been there. He knows they're not going to break the bank. So you operate within that. As long as you do it okay, they're going to keep you around. And yeah, I think in the past, if they were really trying to compete, he's probably not there anymore.
So have all our picks been American soccer related so far? They kind of have, right? Even your Klinsmann one was American soccer.
World Cup.
So I'm going to go... Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry. Well, that's very not American soccer related in 2018, unfortunately. I've got the biggest American soccer related thing, which is happening in 2018, is the presidency. I hope whoever wins the US soccer presidency, we get an end to the soccer wars.
I'm down for that.
Right?
Yes.
Because it's already shaping up that Kathy Carter is, she's from Soccer United Marketing. That makes her kind of the MLS aligned candidate. It seems like Eric Winalda is the sort of NASL, mess with the system aligned candidate. And it kind of is heading, it's almost like battle lines are being drawn in the presidency election is going to be about these things.
Yeah.
I really hope that at least after the election in February, whatever happens, that everybody can get on the same page and sort of say, all right, no more fighting. Let's just do whatever's best for American soccer.
You sweet, sweet man.
Is that too naive? Genuinely, that's a genuine question, because I know I can be naive and optimistic to a fault sometimes.
No, I think what the current political climate has shown us is that once you're hyper-partisan on an issue, you totally let it go really fast and just move on to look at new issues ahead. No, I mean, I do think that at least some people will be able to let bygones be bygones and focus on, hey, there's a new coach. Hey, there's a new group of players coming through for the national team. Hey, the women's team is doing very well, as they tend to do. Let's focus on them. There's players moving abroad. That's exciting. But I think there's certainly going to be other people who think, why is it promotion relegation here yet? Or why is he looking into promotion relegation? I don't want that to happen. You're still going to have those sides.
Then I will downgrade my expectations or my hopes to be more realistic. How about this? Whoever is elected US soccer president, whether it's Kathy Carter or Eric Winalda or Carlos Cordero or Carl Martino, let's say that I just want there to be sort of some competency at US soccer, which would mean somebody is contacting Jonathan Gonzalez, which would mean that France is not announcing friendlies in June that US soccer has not announced, and yet it's definitely happening, but we haven't managed to
To clarify, you say in June, you also mean for June.
Yeah, sorry.
Like they have announced there's a friendly this coming June against the United States. US soccer has said nothing.
It's not on the schedule yet. They've never acknowledged it. So, yeah, maybe like fill the general manager role like after the election, hopefully. But like just whoever wins, get some core competencies in place so that US soccer can be kind of functional again. Because right now it's really not, right? We've got this sort of the big problem of not having a coach is like a really set adrift kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, for all the madness at the English FA, they've never just been like, yeah, we don't really have a coach, but we'll bumble through the next few months.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I mean, and I think to bring it maybe home, I would say that for us, I don't plan on after the election like continuing to harp on like, well, this candidate would have done that, but this candidate said they're going to do that, and now they're not doing that, and now the president. Like, I don't think that gets us anywhere. But what I think we can do is kind of vow to continue to look at what U.S. soccer's presidency and leadership groups are doing and focusing on that more so than, oh, but this guy would have done a better job. Let's go back to that partisan rhetoric. I don't think that gets us anywhere.
Okay. Speaking of being optimistic for 2018, are you going to be healthy for 2018? I'm
going to try to be healthy.
Yeah?
Certainly healthier than I've been in the last 2 weeks.
How are you going to make that happen?
I'm not going to eat holiday food for 2 straight weeks.
So a couple of shows ago, I had my thing if I'm going to make sure to do the swimming that I was planning to do.
How'd that go?
Had it planned today. Gym's closed.
Really?
Yeah.
The gym's closed today?
It does. It's the VCU one, so it's on like a college schedule. So it doesn't open until tomorrow.
What?
Yeah.
What kind of gym does that? I feel like this is like Black Friday for gyms. Is it not? Like,
but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go running instead.
Swim in the river?
I'm going to do some running.
Swim in the river.
And I'm thinking the running might qualify me for Health IQ. Today's sponsor is Health IQ.
Health IQ is an insurance company that helps health-conscious people like runners, cyclists, weightlifters, and vegetarians get lower rates on their life insurance.
I'm 3 out of 4 of those things.
You're a weightlifter?
I'm not a weightlifter. I'm the other 3.
I went the wrong way, didn't I?
Yep. I have once lifted some weights. Not pleasant.
Like the 15s? Doing some curls?
I have a 10
Working on those glamour muscles?
I think I have a 10 or 12 at home, and it's hard work.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Though, is that isometric or plyometric? Whenever you have to like just hold it out and
the fact that I don't know proves that I don't do it.
Yeah, our core is great. Is I guess what we're getting at there.
Are you saying that there's a thing where you hold it out and you just have to hold it as long as possible, and then you start shaking?
Oh yeah,
like you're in a sci-fi movie.
Indeed, 10-pound weights, exactly.
Like the force is attacking you.
Nerd. Although what comes to mind is the original Punisher movie, or the second Punisher movie with Thomas Jane, where that's how he kills somebody.
Through plyometric weights.
He makes them hold a landmine, I think.
So how about tell people about Health IQ?
Okay, that's probably a better one.
So Health IQ is a life insurance agency. They will get you lower rates on life insurance if you are healthy. Taylor mentioned runners, weightlifters, cyclists, vegetarians, of course, soccer players.
Yeah.
If you play some soccer, then I think Health IQ kind of sees that as you qualifying as a runner, unless you're a very lazy soccer player. So if you run 10 miles a week or more, you are running to the level where you could qualify for Health IQ's rates.
Yeah. And I mean, and I would say, who's the giant gentleman who plays in England? Is it
Akinfenwa?
Yeah, Akinfenwa. Like I think we've talked about previously, would be classified as like obese by the body BMI.
Yep.
But
Health
obviously
IQ does
not
not disqualify you for BMI as other life insurance people.
Exactly, where he is in fact incredibly fit and more agile than you would think, and I'm guessing cover some distance as well.
So if you think you might be healthy, or you're planning to get healthy in 2018, to see if you qualify, get a free quote at healthiq.com/TSS. That's healthiq.com/TSS. Or if you talk to a Health IQ agent on the phone, mention the promo code TSS. TSS stands for Total Soccer Show.
It
of course,
indeed.
so they know that we sent you.
It does indeed. A link to healthiq.com/TSS will be in today's show notes because, as we said before, going to that unique landing page is also important for us. And thank you to Health IQ for sponsoring today's show. We ended with your request for civility in U.S. soccer.
My optimistic request for civility.
I'm going to move us abroad again, and I'm just going to say this isn't a thing I don't know how to phrase this. It's not a thing that I hope happens, but it is a thing that I am guessing will happen. It's that game when Pep Guardiola gets bored and does something weird. And he kind of does this at a certain point with his teams where you're 15 points ahead in the table. You're coming up against a Champions League opponent. And I feel like when you have that huge gap that he tends to have, it becomes you have a little bit too much time to think about that Champions League opponent. And the one that stands out in my mind is when he tried to man-mark everybody at Barcelona when he was coaching Bayern Munich. But he has those weird moments of you know what? I saw a joke today that Pep Guardiola, his resolution for 2018 is that he's going to make Sergio Aguero goalkeeper because why not? And it's not that to that extreme, but he will have that game where he wants this player to cut inside, and then the center back is going to be a winger for some reason, and it will either work hilariously, and the opposition will have no idea what to do, or it will blow up tremendously, and that will be equally interesting. But there will be that game when he does something weird, and I always look forward to it.
A Guardiola innovation.
Yes.
Yeah, for better or worse.
A Guardovation, if you will.
All right, since we're talking Guardiola then, one of mine is, I hope Manchester City wins the Premier League or the Champions League. So the version of Man City we're seeing right now, I've been really enjoying them, especially the last few months. If it all falls apart in some way, I feel like it'll be a mini tragedy, right? Because you won't have you won't be able to celebrate this team historically the way that we have been able to do with his Barcelona team and with his Bayern Munich team. I hope the wheels stay on this Man City thing. I hope they go the Premier League season unbeaten, not to take away from the Arsenal Invincibles record, but because I think this team deserves it.
Yeah? I'm with you on that. I mean, it's pains me to say that, but I'm with you on that. And I also think, though, that if they do continue to win it at a relative canter, I know Crystal Palace have had their say, but I don't think that's going to do too much. It also encourages innovation. I think managers have to look back and think, we didn't take any points off them. What do we need to do to make that happen next year? Maybe you change your tactics a little bit. Maybe you get a wider variety of approaches to English soccer.
Well, you've hit on the second part of why I really want this to happen. I want Man City to sort of win the Premier League, and for the other coaches, the top coaches in the Premier League, to sort of say, okay, I'm going to try and do something similar. I'm going to commit to something that's kind of risky, but if it pays off, it goes really well. And you can already see Jurgen Klopp kind of doing a similar thing right now, right? And I know that's not inspired by Guardiola. Klopp has his own thing, but I've been watching Liverpool over the sort of festive period where they play 1 million games. Every Liverpool game has been really exciting, and they've mostly won those games, right? So it's been really good to watch. And what I'm hoping is that, okay, so when Pep was at Barcelona, or when Pep was at Bayern, there just aren't teams in La Liga or the Bundesliga, enough teams that can say,
enough
all right,
is key. My eyes got real big. Do you want the wrath of Madrid? Both Madrids?
There aren't enough teams who can say, all right, we're going to try and do something similar.
Yeah.
But in England, you've got a Liverpool team that can spend £75 million on Virgil van Dijk. Right?
Yeah.
There's a top 6 in England that all want to qualify for the Champions League, right? And so I would love...
Is it only a top 6 now?
I mean, it goes to right now, Arsenal and Spurs are 5th and 6th, right? And then it's Burnley. Anything above there, I think.
Well, I was thinking Burnley definitely in there, yeah.
Okay.
They're big spenders.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you've got teams who can afford and have the ambition to say, all right, we're going to do something Pep-like where we have an exciting, expansive style and we try and make it work.
Yep.
Right now, the outlier is kind of Mourinho, which is a little worrying. But so he would be, actually, if he could have a Christmas Carol, 3 goes to visit him kind of thing, and he wakes up one day and is kind of like, okay, the way soccer is going right now is you have to play this sort of, you put your best foot forward and play this sort of style where you take a risk and try and win the game. That would be the big change for me, is if all the big English teams are sort of like, all right, the only way to beat Pep is not to play 5-4-1 and hope to get something on the break or to try and man-mark someone. It's to try and do the same thing.
Regarding Mourinho,
yeah.
Oh, you sweet, sweet man.
I need to visit him as 3 ghosts, right?
Yes, that would be probably an ideal scenario.
But don't you think the best chance that for the other teams to sort of say we're going to try and out Pep is in England, just purely because the money is there in the TV money for other teams to try and match?
I mean, yeah, I would say definitely. And I think you've seen, Eddie Howe's Bournemouth, they kind of went at Man City. Crystal Palace weren't as defensive as they could have been. Still defensive, but not like ultra 10 men behind the ball, everybody in the penalty box. Like it's going to take something amazing to beat us.
I feel like Roy Hodgson's trick was to distract him, right? They're just chatting on the
have a
bench.
chat?
Yeah, just have a chat. Oh, he's like, I don't watch the game. Let's just chat about this. Yeah.
Hey, friend.
Let
some turkey. Get sleepy.
me tell you about the time I managed the Swiss national team at Euro 96.
I feel like Guardiola might actually enjoy that.
Yeah, he might lean in.
But but I think you do have that money. I mean, Chelsea obviously have the ability to spend. Arsenal are probably going to need to spend, especially if
every
they lose.
Premier League team can spend.
Yeah, but I'm saying like you're going to have teams that will be looking to retool this offseason in order to really not just like compete with Man City, because that is not the goal, but the goal is to satisfy fans, satisfy investors, keep the board happy. And I think to do that, a lot of teams are going to need to look and think, suddenly our doors have been blown off. We can't kind of keep coasting and hope for other teams to slip up.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I'm driving at. Is I want Pep to raise the bar, and for all the other big teams to be like, okay, we're going to try and reach that bar. Yeah. And then you've got an exciting few years ahead in English football.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like we have had dominant teams. Obviously, we've had two different teams called the Invincibles, although both of them were Arsenal. But like, I do think this is the first season that I can remember, and the narrative is still sort of there, but not really. But it's the first one I can remember where there was no team banking on other teams dropping points. Like it was never like, but you've got to, like when it was Manchester United, and even like their heyday with Sir Alex Ferguson, it was still like, oh, but you know Chelsea are going to drop points here, and there's no way they're going to come out of here with the full 12 points that they could get. Yeah. So United have like you don't have that with Man City anymore. It is just sort of like you can't bank on that. You got to try to win every game too, otherwise you're going to be behind them by some distance.
All right. Okay. What else you got?
I'm going to say it's a weird one, but, you know, some people had good 2017s, and I would say that I am looking forward to seeing people who had good 2017s continue to have good 2018s, because that's the easiest way to talk about Jonathan Gonzalez, whom we've already mentioned, but also Josh Sargent, but also Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, and Tyler Adams.
You mean Weston McKennie?
Excuse me. Weston McKennie.
My unrealistic expectation for 2018 is that everybody learns how to pronounce and type Weston McKennie's name correctly.
All right, that's fair. Anyway, Weston McKennie had a very good 2017, and I'm looking forward to seeing him continue along that path. And really the only other way I can add on to that is that I'm very much hoping, if not looking, to see multiple Americans in the Champions League next year.
Oh, that's
interesting.
I
think that is more possible than it's been.
Did you see the Leon Goretzka news?
That he is, agreed to a deal with Bayern Munich, which now he said he hasn't.
But it looks like he signed a pre-contract to join them in the summer on a free when his contract at Schalke expires, which means there's a hole in that Schalke midfield where Weston McKennie can happily sit and be like, yep, I can be the new guy.
And I think they announced like a short-term loan of somebody today, but still, I don't think that really does much. But I mean, there is even that chance that like if Schalke continue to focus...
The short-term loan might be that right back who's going to knock Shaq Moore out of position at Levante.
That might be.
Yeah, that's not so good.
That's not great. But like even if Schalke did... stay where they are, make it to the Champions League. Like maybe Haji Wright comes back and gets a couple minutes just to see. Maybe
Nick Tattague is the more likely.
So even Schalke being in the Champions League might give you an opportunity to see 1 to 3 Americans playing there.
Yes.
And then Christian Pulisic doing the things he's doing and continuing to do them either with Dortmund or elsewhere, because we've already kind of talked about that on our. Was that our predictions?
That was our predictions. Let's do a transfer show later this week. And maybe we'll include Christian Pulisic in our sort of transfer speculation.
But man, that kid is doing good stuff, because it's not just what I mean by like, playing for Dortmund, starting consistently, but like just other stuff where like. Have you ever had that person who was just like cool? Like they were just cool. Like it didn't matter what they did. You're like, man, that was a cool way to do that.
That's me.
False. But you try. But like, did you see the tweet he put out today where it was a video of him dunking?
Yeah, that looked kind of awkward to me, and that rim was definitely lower than regulation.
But then did you see his response when I think it was Bleacher Report was like, not bad for somebody who's 5'8". And he was like, hey, I'm 5'10". Like he called him out. Like just that sort of like playfulness, but the awareness. And I feel like that is a sort of thing that like you wouldn't see like LeBron James do, because his publicist would be like, oh, you might alienate people who are 5'8". So like I like that
there's footage of LeBron dunking though.
I think once or twice. I could be wrong. But I don't know. I just think like Pulisic, it's not just his performances that have elevated his persona, but it's how public he's been.
Age has elevated his height by about 2 inches over the last few years.
That doesn't
My
hurt.
guess is that 5'8" measurement
is an outdated stat from Wikipedia.
Outdated from when he was like 17 or 16.
But just moments like that where you see a different side of him than like like a kid who's playing for Dortmund. It's like, oh no, he's a confident kid who's like dunking while everybody else is in the weight room or like whatever. But then also him writing the letter for...
You mean the article for Players Tribune?
Yes, yes. But like even that, like kind of bringing him more into the American soccer consciousness. Justin, like he's a really great player, but like, oh, he is a future captain. Like those sort of moments.
Do you remember what happened over the holidays?
Yes.
So speaking of Christian Pulisic on Twitter, he literally tweeted out like, hey, I'm going to be like coming back from Germany to the US. Can anyone reunite me with my dog?
Yeah.
And it was a Total Soccer Show listener who answered the call. Literally, Tristan Gilliland Kunkel literally went and picked up
from Hershey
Christian Pulisic's dog, I believe from his parents' house, drove to the airport and reunited Christian Pulisic
from Hershey to DC. I know it's not that long, but still. It's a couple hours drive, I'm assuming.
Can we give a salute to Tristan
for we can.
Just a service to US soccer?
Yes. Yeah? If you haven't read about this story, here's the service that I will also offer. If you haven't read it, when you do, try to find the photo of him with his eyes open. Let's make that happen instead.
Can we put a link to the American Outlaws story in the show notes so people can read this?
Sure.
Because Tristan was great enough to, during the sort of interview with American Outlaws about how this happened, he gives the Total Soccer Show a mention because he's in the Scouting Network and scouting Derek Jones.
It made me very happy.
Yes, me too. Thank you, Tristan.
That might be it for me, Daryl. How many more do you have to go?
I've got a big one.
Okay.
Here's the thing I'm really hoping for. The FIFA Dispute Resolution Chamber finds in favour of Crossfire Premier, Soccers FC and the Dallas Texans. Do you remember what this is about?
Is this about promotion relegation?
This is about solidarity fees and training compensation.
Ah, yes.
So do you remember sometime in the fall, I can't remember the exact date, we were told that this is on the FIFA docket in the Dispute Resolution Chamber. It is all the teams I mentioned, Crossfire Premier, Soccers FC, Dallas Texans, are youth teams who've had, respectively, DeAndre Yedlin, Michael Bradley and Clint Dempsey be trained by them as a youth team. Then they've gone on to professional soccer. In the rest of the world, they would get training compensation from the first team that the professional player signs for, and then they would get solidarity payments as that player transfers to different teams throughout that player's career. They would get sort of like proper trickle-down economics where the money would go down, small fees go down to the youth teams. The example always used is when Schweinsteiger signed, I believe, for Man United. Like his youth team got some of that fee. I think they got $42,000, right? Doesn't happen in the US. It's one of the reasons that pay-to-play is so prevalent. It doesn't fix pay-to-play, but it's at least a piece of the puzzle that these teams could get money for players they've trained who go on to big things.
And it's one of the stories that's like the easiest to write about big money transfers is how often that transfer ends up saving a club.
Yes.
Because it's always like Paul Pogba's like two clubs before he was with Le Havre before Man United bought him.
Yeah.
That club was like on the brink of financial ruin.
So they get a cut of that $90 million.
And then they got $500,000 or whatever because he was worth so much money.
So that is on the docket since fall of 2017, which says to me it has to happen at some point in 2018, right? And if the 3-judge panel finds in favour of those youth clubs, that should mean that US youth clubs will then be entitled to money from players that move on. It also means that MLS teams will have to pay fees to, I want to say, like, say you sign a Costa Rican player, that also that money will have to pass down to like Costa Rican small teams that have trained, like, you know, Ronald Matarrita, something like that. So that's why MLS are fighting it. MLS Players Union are fighting it because they've been told, I think incorrectly, that having this money leave and go to as compensation fees means that player might get paid less. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's enough to not do it. So I really hope that this gets fixed in 2018.
But why would that relate to what the player's salary is? Wouldn't that just relate to what his purchase amount is?
Because I think some of the compensation fees relate to just how much money is spent on the player.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? So the money has to go somewhere, and they're saying that it doesn't go in your pocket, it ends up going back to a youth team. Yeah. I think that needs to change. I think it might change in 2018 because FIFA might make it happen.
Yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
All right. I've got a couple more if you're willing to indulge. Okay. I hope Leo Messi wins the World Cup.
Is that what this Argentina thing has been about?
Yes.
Okay. I've been wondering where this came from that you were suddenly all about Argentina winning the World Cup.
So, I mean, one is they got I looked into this. They got Sampaoli in for like the last 4 games of qualification. So he didn't do great, but he got them just over the line. His teams are exciting to watch. Remember, his Chile team was fantastic to watch. I really hope by the time the World Cup rolls around, you have an Argentina team playing Sampaoli soccer, and you've got Leo Messi finally winning a tournament, and then he's basically got the complete set, right? There's just no argument about, like, look at this career. Again, we we are lucky to live in the time of Leo Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo and get to watch those guys play soccer. The Leo Messi thing isn't kind of complete until he lifts that World Cup. 2018, I'm guessing, is the last time he'll be in the peak of his career. You know what I'm saying? Like next time round, he might be some older guy who's maybe playing like a Pirlo defensive midfielder role or something, or at least it will be an old striker or something. This is the last chance for Leo Messi to win the World Cup as the Leo Messi that we know and love.
Do you think, like I know that they would never say they're rooting for it, but like, you know, the stories we hear about like professional franchises is that like Major League Soccer always wants there to be a team from LA playing a team from New York in the final because you've got the two biggest markets.
That's always like maybe fans who don't know as much thinking that that's the thing that needs to happen, right? I always think MLS just wants something that looks good on TV.
That's what I'm saying, but that's the two largest media markets. Like you want that because you're going to get a big number. I do wonder if FIFA like kind of secretly hope that the World Cup final is Portugal versus Argentina. And it's like Messi versus Ronaldo.
I mean,
for world supremacy.
That would get great TV ratings, right?
Yeah, it would. Yeah. But I mean, but to your point also about Messi, like it then opens up a whole other door because right now Ronaldo fans would say, well, he's won the Euros, like he's won major silverware with his national team. Messi's never done that.
And I kind of don't care about the Ronaldo versus Messi debate because they're just both great. Watch them, enjoy them. But I think it would be enjoyable to watch one of the greatest players of his generation, one of the greatest players of all time, maybe the greatest player of all time, to get to watch him win a World Cup so that no one can knock that against him, just to end that conversation.
All right. I have been wondering why you were suddenly all about the Argentina.
And plus, a San Pauli team soccer is exciting, so we get to watch that. All right, I've got more for you. I hope England makes me proud in 2018. We already talked about this on the sort of specific predictions. I really think this might be the year where England is not a laughingstock, but they're a team that's enjoyable to watch at the World Cup. I hope they go to the semi-finals or something like that. All right? I hope Americans still watch the World Cup.
Agreed.
Yeah, without the US in it, I still think there's a chance that sports-curious fans will, tune in for some sports ball on Fox.
Well, I had these conversations a couple times over the holidays with people, sort of like going back to that narrative of like, aren't you worried that like soccer is not going to make it anymore because they're not, and like, no, people are still going to watch. Like that's what I kept saying is like you might not have the giant public viewing parties that you had for U.S. national team games, but you're still going to have everybody in the pubs watching the games, and you're going to have everybody talking about the World Cup. It just won't be about the U.S. national team.
Here's an example. I think the U.S. Portugal game was the highest rated US game at the 2014 World Cup, and it had, I think, combined, like I think ESPN and Univision had like 23 or 24 million people watched total, right? The World Cup final had a combined 27 million, right? So more people will watch the World Cup final because it's like a weird showpiece event.
Well,
so people will watch.
I now maybe they've taken this into consideration, but like, do they take? Like, we had the public viewing here in Richmond where 5,000 people were watching the USA-Portugal game. I don't know if it counts those as 5,000 or as one.
I think that counts as one Watch ESPN broadcast.
That's what I'm saying. So then, yes, it might have been 27 million, but that's, I guess what I'm saying is I think you're still going to have people watch, but they're going to be doing it from their home.
But let's not quibble over that. I'm basically just saying that people will watch a game that doesn't involve the US because it's the World Cup.
Yeah,
and the World Cup final is an example of that, right? Okay, on the same note, I kind of hope that one of the silver linings of the US not being at the World Cup is that the Fox broadcast won't have to be so like patriotism first, and they'll do some soccer analysis.
I know exactly what you're thinking about. I feel like I know exactly the moment.
Waving flags in the Copa America Centenario
and they all picked USA over Argentina, and Fernando Fiore was like, no. like the one time that I felt like Fernando Fiore wasn't playing a character was when he was like, are you guys kidding me? Like, no, Argentina's going to win this game.
I think he's also Argentinian.
He is, but it was still like just the like, I think USA is going to get it done, and he was just sort of like, you guys know it's Argentina, right?
All respect to the guys on the Fox Soccer broadcast, I feel like sometimes it's a bit too like it's almost like watching a morning show, and I want it to be more soccer analysis, which all those people, maybe with the exception of Fiore, all the people in that studio are capable of like proper smart soccer analysis. I want to see that at the World Cup. I want Fox to have like an hour segment at night where they break down plays. You know what I mean?
I would much prefer that, and I would much prefer if they did that with some of the people that we already know, because like I think ESPN for the Euros and for the last World Cup, they tend to bring in like former stars from around the planet because like, Germany are playing today, so let's get Lothar Matthäus in there, who notoriously cares really, really, really a lot about like his independent jobs. No, he doesn't at all. He's there for money. But like I would rather them have Stu Holden break stuff down or have Landon Donovan break stuff down. I would enjoy that much more.
That would be a great studio segment for Fox, is to have Holden and Donovan break stuff down, or get some tactical people in there. There's plenty in the US.
Your love of puns, you've just overlooked the obvious name for that segment, the studio segment with Stu Holden. You're welcome.
No.
Yep. Nah, see? You see what it's like? You see what it's like?
I hope Columbus Crew stays in Columbus. How about that? I hope Columbus Crew stays in Columbus in 2018 and beyond.
You sweet, sweet man.
Here's my final one. I hope Wolves hold their nerve.
As do I.
Meaning, then at time of recording, the games haven't happened yet. They're 9 points clear at the top of the championship. I hope, obviously, that holds and they go through the rest of the season, win the championship, get promoted to the Premier League. But in terms of hold their nerve, what I'm saying is I hope Wolves go to the Premier League next year and play the type of soccer they've been playing this year, which is that Guardiola-ish, expansive, keep the ball, move the ball around type thing. But I also hope they don't sort of panic and buy a bunch of sort of experienced Premier League players, in quotes, because that could be the death of the team that I'm watching right now.
Yeah, it doesn't work so well. I think they've already bought the experienced Premier League players and the exciting young players who could have an impact on the Premier League for this season in the Championship. I'm actively trying to think, and I know there's been one, but I cannot remember the last time we had a Championship side successfully investing their money. Like, I think the only one that comes to mind was Cardiff when they came up, and they were kind of splashing a lot of cash, and I think they had aspirations to stay there for a while. But I do feel like Wolverhampton as long as they hold their nerve, knocking on wood for you, I do feel like they're not going to be relegation strugglers by any stretch of the imagination.
It's hard to tell, right? Because you could be playing the style of football they're playing now and just find that teams smash you when you try and do that in the Premier League.
Maybe, but I think they've got a lot of talent there. I think they could beat some Premier League sides right now pretty easily, and I think that if you invest a little bit more, that could be another side that maybe you talk about in the
That's
top 10.
what I'm hoping for, is a little bit of investment, but not like a rip the spine out of the team and start over for the Premier League.
That's
you know what I'm saying? All right, so I hope Wolves hold their nerve for 2018 and beyond.
It's 0-0 at halftime right now.
Is it? So, anything else from you?
Nope.
I went on a long list of my hopes for 2018.
You did, but you're a hopeful person, so that's fine. The only thing for me is scouting.
Okay, final thing though, speaking of scouting, I know that the Winter Summit is happening right now, right, with those young players being called up for the January camp, which I believe is in Florida. We haven't got into that on this show. There's going to be a Top Draw Soccer show recording tomorrow in which Travis and I will break down sort of what is going on in that camp, why it's happening, who's there, what it's all about. Because I think it's a very, very interesting development.
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Also worth noting, Man City currently losing to Watford right now.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not. They're up 2-0 in the 34th minute.
Okay.
Come on.
That was one of my questions.
Get out of here.
How will they react to that Palace 0-0 thing? Yeah.
The answer is to
by
be
beating Watford.
to be up 2-0 before halftime. Yes.
All right, should we talk about some young Americans and others
Sure.
In today's Total Soccer Show Scout Network? Stop looking at the scores. Stop looking at the scores. I will close your laptop, sir.
Yes,
Why
let's
don't you
do
start
it.
us off?
Michael Thompson scouting Chris Gloucester, a 17-year-old American left back for Unattached FC.
Ooh, I'm a big fan of them.
Chris Gloucester was called into Tab Ramos's January Youth Summit. Unfortunately, this press release listed Gloucester as unattached to any team, which is a somewhat expected but still disappointing bit of news for New York Red Bull fans, who will more than likely be losing their starting left back Kamara Lawrence to Europe once the transfer window opens.
So does this mean that Gloucester is being offered a homegrown player contract and he's stalling? Like maybe he has offers elsewhere?
I think you're going to have to talk to Chris Gloucester and his agent about that.
That's a possibility, though, right? I'm going to look into this Chris Gloucester thing. That's exciting.
All right.
I might add him to my list of players who should get starts in MLS next year.
All right.
Andy Cincinnati is scouting Jean-Julien Fouet-Nufaus. I believe that's how you pronounce it.
Sure.
JJFN, as we call him. 17-year-old American midfielder / forward for San Jose Earthquakes. I've heard big things about this kid. Andy says Fouet-Nufaus has been called into the first ever US Youth Summit. JJ, which I've assigned as a great nickname due to the complexity of his name, thank you, Andy, is highly rated. He's been playing for the Quakes U19 Academy team, but is also committed to the University of California. Interesting.
Boo College. Christian Bukel scouting Paxton Pomykal, the aforementioned 18-year-old American midfielder for FC Dallas. Yes, fire truck. He is exciting. Pomykal was called into the U20 camp along with three other...
If you love Paxton Pomykal.
He was called into the U20 camp along with three other FC Dallas youth players. At club level, Paxton is poised to play a bigger role this year as FC Dallas has yet to splash on any meaningful signings. Paxton is the most interesting story developing for FC Dallas fans who are shifting from denial to anger stage of grief this offseason.
There needs a youth revolution. Ryan Marzak is scouting Pione Sisto, or Pione Assisto, as we call him, 22-year-old Danish attacker for Celta Vigo. Ryan says, heading into 2018, Sisto is looking to build on an incredible first half of the season. He has 3 more assists in the Liga than any other player and has added 3 goals as well. Ryan hopes Sisto's great form continues and sends him to Russia on a high note. That's more of a Ryan's hopes and dreams for 2018.
A little bit. And a little bit of a catch-up.
I kind of like it, though.
Yep, and that continues with Ryan Marzock's other scout, or scoutee, rather, Josh Onoma, the 20-year-old English attacking midfielder on loan at Aston Villa from Tottenham. The loan move to the Championship has been critical to Josh Onoma's development this season. Before 2017, Josh had made a total of 32 appearances in 3 seasons for Tottenham, tallying 1 goal. In half a season at Villa, he has made 19 appearances and has already scored 4 goals. Hopefully, Mauricio Pochettino is keeping an eye on him.
Wait, there is no way that Josh Onoma had played 32 times for the Tottenham Hotspur
I wonder
team.
if that's like their
That's their reserve team.
Yeah,
that's the Premier League 2 team. It has to be.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he meant like 32 appearances in all competitions for Tottenham's various teams.
32 games of senior football. Either way, English Modric. Zach Rose is scouting Ronaldo Vieira, the wonderfully named 19-year-old English defensive midfielder for Leeds United. Zach says Ronaldo started and went 77 minutes in Leeds' 2-1 comeback win over Burton on Boxing Day. It was a bit of a mixed bag for Ronaldo. He was partially at fault for Burton's goal, as he was caught walking back into position and kept the goal scorer on side.
That seems like very at fault.
That's a no-no, isn't it? However, he then bagged a beautiful assist on Kemar Roof's game-winning goal. He suffered an injury in that game, which kept him out of this past weekend's fixture.
Patrick Keeler scouting Anthony Robinson, 20-year-old American left-back on loan at Bolton from Everton.
I'm a big fan.
After being dropped for Andy Taylor, age 31, in the previous 2 games, Anthony started for Bolton as Taylor is once again hurt. He had the game-winning assist with a low-driven cross to the foot of the striker, who couldn't miss from point-blank range. Bolton made the goal stand up for a 1-0 victory, their first on the road. Rumors are swirling that Anthony will extend his loan at Bolton. I don't know if rumors can be swirling about extending a loan, but sure. But nothing official yet. Other clubs are also reportedly interested in the youngster.
I've seen this goal. It's a really good, zip it across the it's like it's in the corridor of uncertainty, but quite close to the goalkeeper, but so precise and so firm.
We call it the Pulisic special where I come
from.
The
Pulisic special, after we figured it out.
Yeah.
Right? So Anthony Robinson is a guy that I kind of had on my draft list of things for today. I hope he gets called up in March, like alongside, say, Keaton Parks and all these other guys that weren't called up in November.
Agreement.
Katie Bochenek is scouting Timothy Fosu-Mensah, the 19-year-old Dutch defender on loan at Crystal Palace from Man United. Katie says TFM was named man of the match in Palace's shock draw with Manchester City. He was a match for both Leroy Sané and Raheem Sterling. Palace were considering terminating the loan, but may reconsider after this performance. An apparent $1 million penalty clause for early termination. With Valencia injured, Man U may want to bring TFM back themselves. He's a man in demand.
Sure, after not being in demand for a while.
But now he's in demand. That's an upswing.
I do want to add, going back to Patrick Keeler's scouting report for a second, that to your point about him getting called up, Patrick always includes the fact that Anthony Robinson is an English-American hyphenate, as in could play for England as well. I tend to just remove the English because I choose not to see that, but that's another reason to call him up. And with that said, Will Herson scouting Ryan Sessegnon, a 17-year-old English left-back / left attacker for Fulham.
He can do it all.
I think he just said left side is what he tends to
He owns the left side.
Left side, strong side, as I believe what Will wrote. After starting the month at left back during an injury crisis, Sess got back into the front 3 alongside fellow schoolyard bully Shea Ojo. In 2 games, he managed 1 goal and 1 assist. It should have been 3 assists, though, apparently, and a Fulham win at Cardiff and a draw at Hull. The Evening Standard says that Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Real Bloody Madrid are all in pursuit of Steven Sessegnon's twin brother, with United rumored to be in the driver's seat with a £25 million offer, plus a promise to immediately loan Ryan Sessegnon back to Fulham for the remainder of the season.
That would be a good deal. Okay, Michael Heitmann is scouting Junior Flores, the 21-year-old American attacking midfielder for Borussia Dortmund. Michael says 4 of the Dortmund U23's last 7 games were cancelled due to poor field conditions, and they're now on their winter break. I think I saw some photos of this. Snow everywhere.
Yeah, basically Michael was saying that while Bundesliga sides tend to have very, very pretty stadiums, where their youth teams play are more so just kind of fields. Yep. And so tend to be a little bit more problematic.
And again, German winters are harsh. To sum up his season so far, Flores hurt his hamstring, sat out the first month. He appeared on the game day roster once. This is for Dortmund too, by the way, I think, right? Dortmund U23s in November, and hasn't played in a league game since May 2016. Based on past experience, Michael predicts the next 12 months will see Flores feature. Sorry, the next 2 months, we'll see Flores feature in a few friendlies, leading to some transfer speculation, likely with Norwich or various MLS clubs. But that Dortmund won't be able to make up their minds, leading to further indecision.
Yeah. I think Norwich, because their current coach was a youth team coach at Dortmund, something like that. And also that, yes. That's the most important part.
And I believe Michael might have said, I think it might be time for me to move on from Junior Flores. If that's the case, Michael, we can make that happen. Because this has been, I want to say, probably for Michael, the most frustrating scouting experience of anyone in the network.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a that's good, that's bad scenario.
It's constantly
I got a player from Dortmund, that's good. It's not Christian Pulisic, that's bad. It's Junior Flores, that's bad. It's just been that's good, that's bad, that's bad.
So imagine how frustrating it is for Junior Flores himself.
Probably more. Yes.
All right. So thank you to Michael, Andy, Christian, Ryan, Zach, Patrick, Katie, Will, and Michael for today's scouting reports. Thank you to everybody who supports the Total Soccer Show. We love our active scouts. We love our silent scouts who support us without doing any scouting, but they financially contribute to the Total Soccer Show by going to totalsoccershow.com/join and keeping this ship afloat.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Daryl.
So, Taylor, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy. It's good to be back.
Listeners, thank you for listening. We are back on regular schedule. We will, be back tomorrow with some January transfer window talk. Talk to you then.